Hello, everyone. We are in the process at Refactor Tech of kicking off Hacktoberfest 2024, and I am so thrilled to be joined today by Chris DeMars of DigitalOcean. He needs no introduction, but I will let you hear from him directly what he's doing now and what he's working on.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it, Erica. I'm glad we got this recorded or fixed up with our schedules because it's been a little hectic. But the name is Chris DeMars. People call me Chris. People call me DeMars. You might know me by other names. I don't know. I'm a senior developer advocate at DigitalOcean and working on a lot of community work and trying to get things together for Hacktoberfest, which kicks off tomorrow. So yeah, pretty stoked on all that. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing at DigitalOcean.
Oh, what am I not doing? Oh, let's see. So working on a lot of community. That was one of the reasons I was hired, was to help out with community and building up community. So I'm doing that, working on a few different like sample apps with our app platform. Another surprise thing that we have coming out soon. Actually, I can talk about it. We have GPU droplets that are coming out soon. I think tomorrow they might be coming out, but don't quote me on that. But that's really cool for AI and ML projects. So just working on that. Got a lot of conferences coming up. It seems like travel just picked up
Where are you going to be?
super quick.
Where can we find you?
So this weekend coming up, I'm going to be in Ann Arbor, which is local. It's about an hour-ish from me. So I'll be speaking at it's the Ann Arbor Tech Convergence. That's a meetup that I'm doing, giving a talk. And then next week, I'm flying to Toronto for Web Unleashed. And then in November, I'll be at Connect Tech. I'll be at Commit Your Code in Dallas in December. And then January, I'll be at CodeMesh. I'll be doing a conference with work. And then I'll be going to London, England to do a workshop with my team lead. So yeah, a lot of travel coming up.
You are all over the place, friend.
I try to be. It's been a wonky year for conferences. And
Yes.
I've heard that from a lot of friends and peers in the community, that people that speak at events usually all the time, they're just not getting accepted. So I don't know if that's like a shift in things. Chances are it's probably a shift in things, but it's been a wonky year for
Yeah, I can
conferences.
say from our experience, we've scaled things in different directions, right? And I don't know if you remember the last in-person Refactor Tech that you attended, but we probably had 60, 70 speakers.
Mm.
And if we're shifting to something that is single track or we're having fewer tracks, that means less speakers. And so that
Right.
could be something you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about how at DigitalOcean, how do you see Hacktoberfest being really important to the open source community?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So DigitalOcean created Hacktoberfest back in 2014, and I actually found pictures
So
of.
is this 10 years?
So it's wonky because like last year was the 10-year, even though they started in 2014. So it might have been like one of those things where we're going to start it, but we're not going to do
Oh,
this
for
year
sure.
to this.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, so last year was like the 10-year anniversary, but from to me, this is our 10-year in my eyes. But yeah, so it was created in 2014 just for the love out of open source and bringing community together. I was actually going through some old pictures the other day and found a picture from 2016 of me and a coworker of mine when we used to work at a company years ago with our Hacktoberfest shirts up because we did enough pull requests. And then I just remember it evolving from there. Tons and tons of different people got involved and organizations got involved. I remember one year Microsoft got involved. This was prior to me ever joining DO, but Microsoft got involved in, if you committed or if you submitted like a PR to a Microsoft product or the docs, I think you got something extra from Microsoft. So like like a cool Hacktoberfest shirt, some stickers. So yeah, I've seen it evolve over the years, and DO really loves community, like extremely, really loves community, really loves the open source community. And Hacktoberfest is one of those staple events that we really put a lot of time and effort into to make happen.
I love that. It sounds a little bit like DigitalOcean's love letter to the open source community.
Yeah, for the most part, it's one of those things. Think about it. You have the whole month of October, and you have a lot of these events that kind of kick off called Preptember, that are prepping for Hacktoberfest. And so like registration's open for it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern we're streaming StreamYard, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, and I'm emceeing that event. We have some speakers coming in to do a couple of different lightning talks here and there. and it's only a couple hours. It's free, but yeah, so that kicks off tomorrow. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun month.
I love everything about that. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about your personal experience with open source. So how did you first get started in open source?
Oh, let's see. I think it might have been through Hacktoberfest, believe it or not. Years and like back in 2016, 20. I might have started Hacktoberfest when they originally started, like 2014, 2015. I think that was like my way in
Oh,
to open source. It was just finding various projects, or even if there was documentation changes that needed to be fixed or spelling. That's how I got my foot in the door with open source, and then just started contributing after that, if I could, at least. If I could contribute and had the time to help with projects like the RxJS docs. I contributed to the RxJS docs years ago with Jen Luker, who's an accessibility person in the community. She and I, we worked on the accessibility of the docs for RxJS. So that was pretty cool. That was a big project. I've worked on one project that Sarah Drasner created a few years ago. It's like a CSS grid project. So that was cool. I contributed to the open sourced pizza directory last Hacktoberfest. So yeah, it's one of those things that if I see something cool, I'll dig in and try to contribute to it.
I love that. So there are a few takeaways there. First, I love how you casually drop some of the biggest names in open source, Jen and Bolstera, and also good friends. Really enjoy both of them. But also this kind of full circle moment where I think one of the goals of Hacktoberfest is to be this gateway to open source. And you're saying that was your opening, that was your gateway.
Yeah, and it was, and I do think it is that way, right? Because there are issues that are on GitHub that a lot of orgs will tag, like first PR or what else? There's some tagging that you can do, like you can tag with
First issue,
Hacktoberfest,
actually.
first issue, stuff like that, or like first PR. I think there's a website called First PR, and a lot of that can help people get their foot in the door when it comes to open source because you have a whole plethora of things to look at on GitHub, and you can search by tag on GitHub. And if you just search Hacktoberfest, you'll be able to see repos that have Hacktoberfest or first PR or first issue or something like that that you can contribute to. So you can just start looking at things and dive in.
We love that. What excites you about open source?
Ooh, what excites me about open source? I think the thing that excites me the most, there's a couple things. When I used to work at Rocket Mortgage, at the time, we had an open source design system. And I was able to work with as I was a DA, I was a developer advocate when I was at Rocket Mortgage at that time. And I worked with the Spark team. It was called the Spark design system. And I was able to work with the Spark team since it was an open source design system, but it was also used across all of the Rocket company, at least Rocket Mortgage entities. We submitted that out for Hacktoberfest, and we marked it with a Hacktoberfest tag and a label or whatever, a label. And we had PRs coming from all over the place. And we got to go through and see the different changes or the things that we may have messed up in the code that were fixed and refactors. So that was one, being able to see the community come together to make something that's great, even better. And two, I think it's that you're contributing to something that is bigger than yourself, right? I know there's like a lot of NASA software out there that's open source. At least it was, and you could contribute to it, and something might get launched into space or land on Mars, and you like wrote part of that code. Like, how cool is that to be like, hey, some of the code I contributed to this is roaming around on Mars on this little rover, and I did that, right? That's cool. That's super cool. And you might not get anything out of it. I don't know if NASA's going to send you a certificate, right? But that's something cool you can add on your resume, your LinkedIn, whatever, like just something cool you can say and brag about. So that's what I dig the most about open source.
Yeah, and just shout out to, I think it's Space Apps is a hackathon for aerospace themed projects. A lot of that is open source, open data. So absolutely, those are the kinds of projects that you can get looped into and contribute to.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I dig it. I dig it. Plus, I'm a paranormal nerd, so I love,
Love that.
on top of loving ghosts and cryptids, like I'm a huge UFO, USO, UAP nerd. So anything that deals with space and like the universe is one of those things on my list.
Also, fellow space nerd here. I once worked at Kennedy Space Center working on the space shuttle, which dates me a bit because shuttle has been discontinued, but nerd goals.
Yeah, like this, I got a library of paranormal books behind me. So this first shelf right here is all ghost stuff, and the second shelf is all UFOs,
I love
all
it.
UFOs, and then the bottom is cryptids and other like paranormal phenomenon stuff. So yeah, I'm a pretty big nerd when it comes to the paranormal world.
That is awesome. And it segues really well into the next question because how do you bring your interest, your own personal interest, into your process for selecting projects that you might want to contribute to?
Ooh, that is a good question. Hmm. I think I just look for the stuff that isn't too out of my wheelhouse. I'm not going to contribute to a C sharp project. If I can contribute to it like a CSS project, or when I was doing more in the accessibility space, contributing to the accessibility of different things, pulling down projects, running various audits on them, seeing what could be fixed, and then following the contribution guidelines, whether you had to submit an issue and then the issue was approved to be worked on, or if it was just clone it and fork it, clone it and throw up a PR and we'll review it type of thing, which I've done before. So it really just boils down to what I love the most about the web, and the front of the stack is what I love most about the web. And even though I'm not doing anything really anymore in the accessibility space, like I still work on accessibility. I work on accessibility at work. I want to make sure that things are accessible to people. So yeah, it's I think finding the things that you love the most working on, but also things that are intriguing too, right? Like I want to start messing around with Python more. I'm sure there's an awesome repo out there for a first issue where I could start working on something or fix something and kind of get the foot in the door with that. So that's how I go with my approach for trying to find open source projects.
Great. So, what are some tips and tricks that you would have wanted to know as a beginner?
Oh, so I actually wrote a handful of articles about
Oh,
contributing, not so much contributing to open source. It was more about getting involved, like learning Git and GitHub and contributing to projects at work, contributing to your own projects. And I guess, yeah, a little bit of contributing to open source. I think in the beginning, getting a real good grasp on how to use Git and GitHub, because that's like the first thing you have to do, right? Because the code usually is going to live on GitHub 99% of the time. So if you're not really good with a terminal, you have to some type of GUI, right? Whether that's Git Kraken or GitHub's UI. I like playing around the terminal myself. Like I'm a big terminal user, so I just learned how to run those commands, and I know I learned how to run Linux commands many moons ago. So I think that would have been like the start. Like when you're getting into open source, learning how to use Git and GitHub is tremendously easy, or not easy. I don't like using the word easy, but it's tremendously helpful, right? And you don't need to learn the ins and outs of everything, but some introductory GitHub command or Git commands and figuring out how to clone something, how to fork something, how to submit a PR, how to write a good commit message, stuff like that is key. Because I still today I'll write like blah for a commit message or this doesn't work, but that's usually on my own projects. I don't suggest anybody do that for an open source project, but knowing those things first, those like kind of those fundamentals, I think is a really good start to getting involved in open source.
awesome. So, I think a lot of folks suspect that you have to be an engineer, you have to be a very senior engineer to contribute to open source projects. But there are a lot of different ways and a lot of different roles that make these projects happen. So, what are some different ways people can get involved in open source communities?
Yeah, just go on GitHub, even just looking at issues like you could see something wrong with a project with a UI, and you might just be not, you don't even have to be a developer. You could be a designer or anything like that and see something wrong with the project and submit an issue. In my opinion, contributing to open source is not it doesn't have to just be submitting a PR, right? You can review code, you can submit issues, even reaching out to a maintainer. If the maintainer has the time, you don't want to just start blatantly just throwing out emails to a maintainer, but reaching out to a community of people that are possibly working on the project, reaching out to somebody there and saying, hey, this looks a little wonky or this could be fixed. If it's not even code related, it could be like something in a design. It could be documentation, which you can fix spelling and documentation in open source. and submit a PR to get that changed. But just even submitting issues is contributing to open source. It doesn't have to just be a PR. There's the different ways that you can contribute.
Thanks for that. So, beyond all of your work that you're doing currently with Hacktoberfest, is there anything new you're working on that you'd like to share?
Ooh, anything new that I'm working on? So yeah, there is one project that I've been working on, and I haven't uploaded it or deployed it from anything that can handle the workload. But I did build and it's open source. The code for part of it is still in a different branch, so it's not fully out there yet. But it's to go along with the Ocean theme of DigitalOcean. I built an app using our app platform. I deployed it with our app platform, which allows you to deploy web application static sites, stuff like that. I built it using Next and React, and it's like a search functionality. And it pulls in a database from our managed MongoDB service, where it's just like a search, and it's just got a list of some aquariums that are pulling it. Like not every US aquarium, but you can search in the search input by the city, state. You can search the aquarium name, and it'll filter down the aquarium. Then you can click on the aquarium, it'll take you to the aquarium page. So that's pretty cool, but also uses auto scaling. So what auto scaling is that if you hit a certain threshold of traffic, a second node will spin up, and you can see how many nodes you want it to spin up. So let's say if it hits a max of 20%, I have a maximum of 2 nodes set up and a minimum of 1 node set up, or you can do 2 and 4. I like the even numbers. It will spin up extra nodes to handle that traffic. And then once the traffic goes down, it'll spin down that node. So I have auto scaling.
Nice.
Auto scaling set up with that. And to go along with all of that, in a different branch, I have a chat GPT bot. I have a chat bot. It's using OpenAI and JavaScript. The whole UI is using Material UI. And I call it Ask Sammy, because Sammy's our, like that right there, Sammy the shark.
Oh, yes.
Sammy the shark is our mascot. So I call it Ask Sammy. And it's a chat bot. It comes out from the side like a drawer. And you can just ask questions about marine life and marine biology, and you get an answer back. So that's pretty sweet. Still working on it. Got some tweaks to make, but that's like my foot in the door of AI and chat GPT and chat bots and stuff like that. I had a few friends help me out with it too, because they've already done the thing and I'm new-ish to the thing. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what I've been messing around
Yeah.
with.
So first of all, that sounds so cool. You have to let us know when you have it out there and ready for
Will
folks to
do.
contribute. But
Will do.
also you touched on something that we haven't discussed yet about how open source can be that way to explore new technologies in a really safe space and with a community that can help you.
Yep. That's a huge thing. Like I was saying, if you're interested in some type of technology, like I said, I'm a little interested in Python. I got a couple Python books I want to go through. Being able to just check out that code, you don't even have to contribute to it. Just, you can look at it, play around with it yourself. That's a really good way. And if you do know a little bit of Python, you could try your hand, download the code, clone the code, fork it, whatever the contribution guidelines say, and just start messing with it a little bit and see if what you can do is a little bit better, or even find an issue and work on that issue and submit that issue as a PR. That's a really good way too, whether that's Python or Go or C# or React or Angular or anything like that. There's always something out there that somebody can check out and work on.
Nice. And so last question.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite projects that you want to highlight and kind of point folks to for good Hacktoberfest projects?
Oh, if I had to pick something, it would probably be, and since I have my love for pizza, I'm gonna give a shout out to the Open Sauce friends. That pizza tracking app thing that they have, that's a good one, because you just add to it, right? You just add a pizza spot or like a recipe for a type of pizza. That's near and dear to my heart. So if I had to choose a project, that would be it. There's so many projects out there, but for a good first issue, the Open Sauce homies, they got it going with that little pizza app repo that they have. So I would suggest that.
Nice, nice. So thank you so much again, Chris, for joining us. Tell us how we can tune into your Hacktoberfest sessions tomorrow.
Yeah, so I just tweeted today. If you follow me on Twitter, it's Salt and Burnham. I just tweeted today the registration link for Hacktoberfest, the Hacktoberfest kickoff tomorrow. But if you don't get a chance to sign up for that and you come in later, it's going to be streaming to the DigitalOcean YouTube, DigitalOcean's LinkedIn, and then it's our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/DigitalOcean TV, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, twitch.tv/DigitalOcean TV if you want to tune in if you missed any of the registration. So, yeah.
Nice, nice. Thank you again. Everyone tune in tomorrow. We're really excited to kick off Hacktoberfest for 2024. And bye, everyone. Happy hacking.
Later, skaters.